This story is a true story. I am a student at Michigan State University, and I live in Holmes Hall, on a floor that is supposedly haunted. I did not know that when I moved in first semester, but was soon made aware of the nature of my floor. About 2 months in the semester, I woke into my room late one night. My roommate wasn't there. I closed the door behind me, so the room was completely dark. It is important to know the setup of my room to understand just how creepy this was. My room is facing the road outside our dorm, which is well lit by street lights, and we have a window on this wall, allowing plenty of light to come in, even when the lights are off. So I noticed how cold it is in the room, and checked to see if the window was open, which it wasn't. Something in the corner of the room caught my eye. I look into the corner of my room that is next to my window, where no light is able to shine. I see a shadow in the corner, and at first I'm startled, but then I dismiss it, telling myself it's my shadow. Then I realize that it can't be my own shadow. With the way the light comes into the room, my shadow would have been cast in the opposite direction. I know what you may be thinking. How can you see a shadow when there is no light? This shadow was probably one of the deepest shades of black I have ever seen. It was darker than the surrounding area. I started to walk towards it to get a closer look. It started moving towards me, but then it vanished. I turned the lights on immediately, but when I did, there was no longer anything in the room. There was a certain uneasiness in the room after that, a very bad vibe. I tell my roommate and friends, but most of them don't believe me. A couple more months pass, and nothing happens. Over winter break, out of sheer curiosity, my roommate looks up Holmes Hall hauntings and discovered that there have been several reports of people seeing a shadow figure pass through the room at night. She sends me the article. We freak out a little, but ultimately forget about it by the time we come back from break. Fast forward to last night. It is midterm week, and everyone was up late studying. I'm coming back to my room from the first floor study lounge when I get a text from my roommate. She asked me if I was planning on coming soon. If not, she's going to spend the night in her suite mate's room. We have an adjoining bathroom with our neighbors. At this point, I'm already almost to her room, so I just go into our suite mate's room to ask her why. My roommate and suite mates tell me that they saw the shadow again. Up until now, I was the only one who had seen it. It's also important to know that my suite mates still did not believe what I saw the first time up until last night. My roommate takes me into her room and tapped on her bed. I noticed that it was colder in her bed compared to the rest of the room, and I began to feel that same uneasy feeling again. All of the lights are off, and it's just us in the room, no suite mates. She points at a shadow on the wall, and I think it looks like just any normal shadow. We can see that a car is about to pass by on the road, and she tells me to stop moving and to look carefully. You know how shadows move to the left or right when a car passes by? Well, this happened with all of the shadows except for the one that she pointed out to me. It was easy to see as the car passed by that the shadow was of a person sitting on a bed, moving their arm up and down, not to the side like the rest of the shadows did. Neither me or my roommate moved when the car passed by, so we know that it was not us, and it had happened 2 other times that night. My suite mate saw it the second time. We looked around the room to see if anything could produce a shadow like that, but nothing. Even if we did find something shaped like the shadow, it is impossible for a shadow to move up and down when the light source is moving from left to right. My roommate, suite mates, and I were all very nervous and on edge. We ran into the other room and stayed there. After a few minutes, I heard a noise coming from the other room, but did not want to say anything because I didn't want to freak everyone out. But my roommate heard it too and told us to be quiet. It sounded like someone was tossing and turning on a bed in our now empty room. We began to discuss why this was happening and why this being was staying in our room for so long, because the last time this being was only in the room for a matter of seconds. This had been happening for the past half an hour. We figure it's feeding off all of our negative energy. We all have midterms this week and have been stressing and studying like crazy for them. So we decide to go into the room, say some prayers, and tell happy stories from our childhood to put some positive energy out in the air. Plus, it was getting close to 3 in the morning, devil's hour, so none of us wanted to fall asleep. It certainly helped us calm down, but it did not get rid of the being. I could feel something leaning on my back the entire time. Around 4, we finally decided to go to bed. We all had exams in the morning. Later, today, I get a text from my roommate while I was in the exams. She asked me if I was in my room, or had been recently. Even before the exam, I had not been in my room since 11 in the morning, and I received the text around 1. I replied no and asked why. She told me our suite mate had texted her telling my roommate that she was hearing things moving around in our room, like someone was in there. So, to preface this story, I'm going to give a brief bit of background about myself. I am an early 20s student from the UK who is studying Chinese in Shanghai, China. You'd think, in the world's largest city, there are bound to be supernatural occurrences, and especially in a country with such a high suicide rate, regardless into my actual experience. So I live pretty high up in a tower block of flats in a student dorm on the 26th floor, especially the top 4 or 5 floors of this building belong to my university, so it is functionally a normal block of flats with student housing on the top floors. This in itself is not scary unless you're scared of heights. So one of my neighbors starts to tell me the stories his roommate has been telling him. The roommate in question is a South Korean border guard and is not a man many would fuck with, scary big Korean dude with military experience. Anyway, the roommate, we'll call him Park for now, moved out of the flat and Shanghai in general because of his experiences. According to our mutual friend, Park had woken up screaming every night without fail at 3:20 a.m. The significance of this time has never been explained to me, but according to the mutual friend, whom we shall call Tai, swears that the screaming woke him up every night. Eventually, Park confided in Tai about what was causing the problem. Every night, a Chinese woman would be standing in Park's curtains while he slept. She would periodically stretch one unnaturally long arm out of the curtain and touch Park in the ribs. After about 3 months of those constant night terrors, Park made it his mission to ensure his sleep at somebody else, usually a lady friend. Besides being scary and huge, he was also very attractive and had his pick of essentially any Korean girl he knew. Some nights, he reportedly slept rough in the doorway to Shanghai nightclub because it was preferable to the curtain woman. Now, initially, I laughed at these stories, especially at the fact that one of the scariest guys I'd ever met was waking up screaming, but then I experienced sleep paralysis. To put this into perspective, like many people on the sub, I've always had an avid interest in the occult, supernatural, and lucid dreaming. I have researched, but never once attempted. I had read the tales of sleep paralysis too, and after never experiencing, in 20+ years of life, chalked it up to simple nightmares. I could not have been more wrong. I woke up in my bed one night and glanced over at my curtained-off balcony. As you can see, there is a certain curtain-based theme here. Behind the curtains, I could see these tall, shadowy figures walking back and forth, as though on the other side of my curtain, probably 5 feet from where I was sleeping. My heart began to thud hard because I'm a fairly rational person, and what I was seeing was not rational. So slowly, I got up from my bed and flicked on my light switch, located by the pillow. Don't ask me why. The second I flicked the switch, I awoke in bed. Clearly my previous hallucinations had just been a bad dream, right? Wrong. As I woke up for the second time, my eyes immediately flicked to the balcony. Nothing. Whew. I had woken up in normality, and the sense of unease was finally starting to fade. Just a dream. And then I looked to the corner of my room, where the curtains bunch up between the balcony and my desk. The only way I can explain what I saw was a huge 6 or 8 feet tall shadow in the curtain. It is hard to visualize, but even though it did not have a humanoid shape to it, I got the vibe in this horrible nightmarescape that the shadow was crouching on the corner of the desk, where it means the curtain and balcony door. Immediately, I panic reacted to this scenario by jumping up and flicking on the light switch. Again, the very second I accomplished my goal, I woke up. This time was for real, but I woke up sitting half upright, with my hand touching the light switch. I have no explanation for any of these events, as I have never experienced sleep paralysis before. Each time I woke up, it felt like I was definitely in the real world, not my dream state, and the room I was seeing in each of these dreams was exactly my room, down to the most minute detail. The final notable event occurred last night, and this is why it prompted me to make this post. I was on a FaceTime call with my mom. The laptop was on my desk, facing me of course. Directly behind the desk's chair sits my wardrobe. I had the wardrobe doors open as I was putting clothes away, but all windows to the outside and my balcony doors were shut. As I was talking with my mother, I heard a reasonably loud thud, and my mom actually screamed. I hadn't seen it on the smaller FaceTime camera, but she had watched in horror as my wardrobe door visibly and apparently slowly closed itself. I have no idea why any of this is happening, but I know something fucked up is going on. At the start of this new semester, Park straight up left Shanghai, moving a fair distance to Harbin. Accordingly to Tai, before Park left, he warned him, "You should get out too, while you can. This place is fucked.